Have you ever felt like you were standing at a crossroads knowing that if you stopped moving, even for a moment, you'd lose your balance? Life often feels like riding a bicycle. Albert Einstein once said, "To keep your balance, you must keep moving." And William James reminded us, never say, "I can't," because no one has ever seen the limits of human potential. These aren't just clever words. They're quiet truths about how life actually works. Balance is not about standing still. Growth is not about staying safe. Both demand motion. Yet so many of us pause too long. We let fear, uncertainty, or the illusion of not ready yet freeze our steps. And in that stillness, our confidence slips, our vision blurs, and the road ahead feels even further away. But what if your next step, no matter how small, was the one that restored your balance? What if every "I can't" was simply a doorway you hadn't dared to open yet? This series is about that journey, how to keep moving when it's easier to stop, how to test your own limits without breaking, and how to discover that the balance you've been chasing comes from the very act of moving forward. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. What's one moment in your life when moving forward despite uncertainty changed everything for you? Share it in the comments below. And if you believe there's more strength and potential in you than you've yet seen, subscribe to this channel and join me in exploring the 12 principles that can keep you steady, help you grow, and reveal just how far you can truly go. When you think of balance, you might picture stillness, a tightrope walker frozen mid-step, a yoga pose held in perfect form, or a calm body of water undisturbed by wind. But in life, real balance is rarely about staying still. It's about constant, deliberate adjustment. Just like riding a bicycle, your stability depends on your ability to keep moving. When you first learned to ride, you probably wobbled, overcorrected, maybe even fell. But it was in the act of pedaling forward, not standing still, that you found your rhythm. If you stopped, the bike would tip. Movement was not the opposite of balance. It was the very thing that made balance possible. Life works the same way. We often wait for the right moment to start something important, a career change, a relationship, a personal goal, because we think balance comes first. But the truth is, balance is a byproduct of progress, not a prerequisite for it. You don't wait until you feel perfectly steady to move forward. You move forward in order to feel steady. The challenge is that moving forward means embracing motion that feels awkward at first, like those first pedal strokes on a bike. It might be shaky. You might not feel ready. You might be afraid of falling. But hesitation is a trap. The longer you wait, the heavier the fear becomes, and the more you convince yourself that stillness is safer. In reality, stillness often destabilizes us. Without forward momentum, we become overly focused on minor shifts in our environment, hyper-aware of the small things that could go wrong. We start reacting to every bump in the road instead of navigating toward where we want to go. Imagine two people in the same storm. One keeps moving towards shelter step by step. The other stands still, shielding their face from the wind, hoping it will pass. The first person will arrive somewhere safer, not because the storm is easier for them, but because motion gives them agency. The second person may end up soaked cold and still far from safety. Movement doesn't have to mean grand gestures. Sometimes it's as small as sending the email you've been putting off, making that first phone call, or walking 5 minutes more than yesterday. The key is direction. Motion without purpose can lead you in circles. Purposeful motion pulls you closer to where you want to be. And here's the paradox. The more you move, the steadier you become. Forward progress builds competence. Competence builds confidence, and confidence feeds back into your ability to move with greater ease. This cycle is how balance is created in life, not through perfect conditions, but through consistent, intentional steps forward. This is especially important when life feels chaotic. In times of crisis, our instincts often tell us to freeze to stop until we can figure it out. But crises don't pause for us to get ready. If we stay frozen too long, the moment passes, opportunities close, and we're left with regret. The better approach is to choose one small action, something we can control right now, and take it. That small action can break the paralysis, restore momentum, and begin to steady us again. It's worth noting that movement doesn't always mean physical action. It can be mental or emotional movement too. Shifting your perspective, reframing a problem, letting go of a resentment that's kept you stuck. Sometimes the most profound forward steps happen in the quiet space of your own mind. Ask yourself, in what area of your life are you standing still hoping for balance to magically appear? What's one step, however small, that would move you towards steadiness instead of waiting for it? Because the truth is this, you won't think your way into balance by staying where you are. You'll find balance only when you start moving. The Stoics understood this principle long before bicycles existed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Forward, always forward. Even if you fall, rise and push on." In Stoic philosophy, virtue is an active state. It's not something you possess by waiting, but something you practice by doing. Stoicism teaches that we should act in alignment with what we can control and release attachment to what we can't. Balance in this sense is living in harmony with nature's constant flow. Life moves, and so must we. The Stoic does not freeze in the face of uncertainty. They take the next right step. It might be small, it might be imperfect, but each deliberate act in accordance with reason is a pedal stroke that keeps life's bicycle upright. In this way, balance and motion are inseparable, not just for survival, but for a life of meaning. We throw the word impossible around so easily. This project is impossible. I could never do that. It's just not realistic. But most of the time, impossible doesn't describe reality. It describes the limits of our current vision. William James, one of the founders of modern psychology, warned against declaring something impossible because no one has ever seen the true limits of human potential. His point is simple, yet profound. You don't actually know where your limits are until you've tested them, and most people stop testing far too soon. We're taught, often without realizing it, that our abilities are fixed. Either you're a math person or you're not. You're creative or you're not. You're good at sports or you're not. These labels given by teachers, parents, or even ourselves create invisible walls. The moment you believe you're not that kind of person, you stop even trying. This belief is comforting in a way. If your abilities are fixed, then you're not responsible for changing, but it's also a trap. It stops you from pushing against the edges of your skill, from seeing how much further you could go with practice, patience, and persistence. Consider something that once seemed impossible to you, but is now second nature. Maybe it was driving a car, speaking in front of a crowd, or even using a piece of technology. The first time you faced it, you felt awkward, clumsy, maybe even panicked. Now you can do it almost without thinking. The task didn't change, your capacity did. And that's the point. Impossible is a snapshot, not a permanent label. History is full of examples. The 4-minute mile was once considered a physiological impossibility. Doctors claimed the human body simply couldn't run that fast without breaking down. Then Roger Bannister did it in 1954, and suddenly dozens of runners achieved it soon after. The barrier wasn't physical, it was psychological. Often when we say I can't, what we really mean is I'm afraid. Afraid of failing, of looking foolish, of proving ourselves right about our own limitations. Fear dresses itself up in rational language. It's not practical. I don't have the time. I'm too old. But underneath, it's the same old story. We doubt we can survive the discomfort of trying. The irony is that discomfort is exactly what makes growth possible. Every meaningful skill or achievement is forged in a zone where you're not quite comfortable. If you're never awkward, never uncertain, never pushed, you're not developing. You're rehearsing what you already know. What if we treated impossible as a temporary state rather than a permanent sentence? Instead of, I can't do this, we say, I can't do this yet. That one word yet shifts the frame from finality to potential. It opens the door to practice, to learning, to improvement. Language matters. The words you use to describe your abilities become the script you follow. Tell yourself you're stuck, and you will be. Tell yourself you're learning, and you'll keep moving. The path out of impossible doesn't require giant leaps. It's a series of small wins that prove to you over and over that you can handle more than you thought. Start by picking one skill or challenge you've quietly decided you're not capable of. Break it into the smallest possible steps. Steps so small they almost feel trivial. Then do the first one. The moment you take that step, impossible has already begun to shift. This approach works because it lowers the stakes. You don't have to prove you can run the marathon, just put on your running shoes today. You don't have to write the book, just outline a single chapter. Success at these micro levels builds momentum, and momentum dismantles the walls you've built in your mind. Be careful whose voices you allow into your head. Sometimes impossible is a belief you inherited from someone else. Maybe a parent discouraged you from pursuing art. Maybe a boss told you that you'd never make it in leadership. These comments often say more about the speaker's limitations than your own. Surround yourself with people who see possibility, who challenge you to grow instead of shrinking you to fit their comfort zone. When you accept impossible too quickly, you trade away experiences you might have loved, skills you might have mastered, and versions of yourself you might have become. You end up living within the walls of a smaller life, not because that's all you were capable of, but because you stopped at the first sign of difficulty. Every time you push against impossible and prove yourself wrong, you expand the size of the world you can live in. And the larger that world becomes, the more you realize that most of the barriers you feared were never real. The Stoics would nod in agreement with William James. Epictetus taught that the only limits worth acknowledging are the ones dictated by nature, not the artificial limits we impose on ourselves through fear or habit. To a Stoic, declaring something impossible without trying would be a failure of reason and courage. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." The Stoic path is one of testing yourself against challenges, not to prove your worth to others, but to live fully in alignment with your capacity for growth. Each time you take on what feels impossible, you are not just expanding your skills, you are practicing the virtue of fortitude, the inner strength to meet life as it is without shrinking from it. When people imagine transformation, they often picture big, dramatic changes, quitting a job overnight, moving to another country, running a marathon after years of inactivity. Those moments are exciting, but they're also rare. Real sustainable transformation usually comes from something much less glamorous, the steady accumulation of small, deliberate steps over time. This is the principle of compound growth. In finance, it's obvious: invest a small amount consistently, and over years, the interest builds upon itself until the results are exponential. But this same principle applies to every skill, every habit, and every area of life. The small things done consistently have a big impact, not because they're flashy, but because they quietly stack up until they're impossible to ignore. Our brains are wired for instant feedback. We love the thrill of quick wins and dramatic results. That's why lose 10 pounds in a week headlines sell more than build healthy habits over a year. The problem is that quick wins are often short-lived. Big sudden changes may impress in the moment, but they can be hard to sustain without the foundation that small steps create. Small progress doesn't feel like much in the moment. Going for a 10-minute walk today won't dramatically change your health. Writing 200 words won't finish your novel. Saving $5 won't make you wealthy. But these actions are the foundation stones. They're how you train yourself to show up even when the stakes feel low. Think of progress like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, every push feels exhausting and the wheel barely moves. But with each push, the wheel turns a little easier, a little faster. Eventually, the momentum takes over, and what once required huge effort now feels natural. James Clear in Atomic Habits describes this as the plateau of latent potential. There's a period where your effort doesn't seem to pay off visibly. Most people quit here, assuming their work isn't working. But in reality, the results are simply incubating, waiting for the tipping point. When that point comes, the growth seems sudden, but it's actually the result of all the small unseen work before it. Small progress doesn't just move you toward a goal, it shapes who you are. Every small action is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. When you run for 10 minutes, you're not just exercising, you're becoming someone who keeps commitments to themselves. When you choose a healthier meal, you're reinforcing your identity as someone who takes care of their body. The beauty of small wins is that they're accessible. You don't need a perfect plan or a massive burst of motivation. You just need to start where you are with what you have and trust that the accumulation will take care of the rest. Why small beats sporadic large? Infrequent efforts can create burnout and inconsistency. Imagine studying for 10 hours once a month versus 30 minutes every day. The daily habit will not only help you retain more, but also make studying a natural part of your routine. This applies to everything: fitness, relationships, creativity, even emotional resilience. Small progress also makes it easier to recover from setbacks. If your progress depends on giant leaps, a single missed opportunity can feel devastating. But if you're moving in small, steady steps, one missed day is just a blip, not a collapse. One of the biggest obstacles to embracing small progress is impatience. We want results now, and if we don't see them, we dismiss our efforts. This is why it's crucial to focus on systems, not just goals. A system is the habit and routine that keeps you moving. The goal is simply a milestone you pass along the way. If you focus on the system showing up every day, you don't have to worry about whether you've made enough progress in a single session. You trust that the results will come because the process is sound. Real-life examples of small progress language. Learning 10 new words a day is 3,650 words a year, enough for conversational fluency in many languages. Strength training. Adding one extra push-up per week can take you from 0 to 50 in a year without injury or burnout. Relationships. Sending one thoughtful message or making one sincere compliment daily builds trust and intimacy over time. In each case, the magic isn't in the size of the step, it's in the consistency. Action steps. Pick one area of your life where you want change. Define the smallest possible action you can take daily in that area. Track it visibly. A calendar, a checklist, a habit tracker to see your chain of progress grow. Forgive small misses, but never miss twice in a row. When you do this, you'll find that small steps aren't just preparation for real progress, they are the real progress. The Stoics valued steady, intentional action over bursts of unsustainable effort. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Don't be overheated in your actions. Do what you must as nature requires without straining or avoiding." This echoes the principle of small, consistent progress. Act according to reason at a pace you can sustain, and you will arrive where you are meant to be. For the Stoic, virtue is cultivated in the daily disciplines, rising early, speaking truthfully, showing kindness, and reflecting honestly. These are not grand gestures, but repeated choices, as ordinary as breathing, yet as essential. Just as the mind is trained by steady thought, the soul is shaped by steady action. In this view, small progress is not a compromise. It is the only path to lasting excellence. If small progress is the seed of transformation, consistency is the soil it grows in. Without consistency, even the best intentions dry up. You can plant the most promising ideas, take the most inspiring first steps, and still end up with nothing if you don't keep showing up. Consistency is not about perfection. It's not about never missing a day or always performing at your peak. It's about building a rhythm so ingrained that showing up becomes your default, not your exception. In many ways, it's less about discipline in the moment and more about designing a life where the right actions are the path of least resistance. Intensity feels good. We love the adrenaline of pushing ourselves hard, studying for hours before an exam, going on a crash diet, or staying up all night working on a new idea. These surges can produce short-term results, but they're not sustainable. The problem with intensity is that it's hard to repeat. Consistency, by contrast, is quiet. It's not glamorous or dramatic. It doesn't impress anyone in the moment, but it's the reason you wake up one day and realize you've built something solid: skills, habits, relationships that can't be taken away easily. Think of a musician. Practicing for 10 hours once a month will never yield the same results as practicing for 30 minutes every day. The same is true for fitness learning and emotional growth. The brain and body respond best to repeated exposure over time. When you do something consistently, you not only get better at it, you also get faster at improving. The early days are slow because you're still building the foundation. But once the habit is set, each repetition adds more value because you're stacking skills on top of skills. This is why consistency often feels hardest at the beginning. You're working without momentum, without visible results, and without the emotional payoff that comes from mastery. But if you push through this stage, you hit a point where the habit sustains itself and the rewards become self-reinforcing. One of the most powerful outcomes of consistency is the trust you build with yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you cast a vote for the identity you want to hold. You start to see yourself as someone who runs, someone who writes, or someone who keeps their word. The opposite is also true. When you frequently break commitments to yourself, even small ones, you weaken that self-trust. It becomes harder to believe in your own promises, and your goals start to feel further away. Consistency is how you close that gap, not by sudden bursts of effort, but by steady follow-through. Most people think consistency is purely a matter of willpower, but willpower is unreliable. If you want to stay consistent, you have to design for it. That means start small. Begin with a habit so easy you can't say no. Anchor it. Tie the habit to something you already do daily, e.g., meditate after brushing your teeth. Remove friction. Make it easier to start than to skip, e.g., lay out workout clothes the night before. Track it. Use a simple log to see your streak grow. The visual reminder reinforces momentum. Consistency is not just about time management. It's also about emotional resilience. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up, when motivation is low, when life is messy. Consistency means you show up anyway, even if it's just for 5 minutes. On those days, the point isn't to perform perfectly. The point is to protect the chain. Each time you keep the habit alive, you protect the structure you've worked so hard to build. Missing one day is normal. Missing 2 in a row risks becoming a pattern. We often think of consistency in terms of personal goals, but it's equally important in relationships and professional life. Trust is built not through grand gestures, but through repeated small acts over time, returning calls, keeping promises, showing up when you say you will. In work, consistency signals reliability. People trust those who deliver steadily more than those who alternate between bursts of brilliance and periods of absence. Reliability becomes part of your professional reputation, and it opens doors that talent alone can't. One danger of consistency is turning it into rigidity. A good habit should serve your life, not control it. If you're so focused on never breaking the chain that you ignore signs of burnout, you risk undoing your progress entirely. The key is flexibility within structure. Allow for light days. If you're sick or traveling, keep the habit alive in a scaled-down form rather than abandoning it completely. This keeps the pattern intact while respecting your limits. Consistency is not exciting, but it's unbeatable. Almost anyone can sprint for a short distance, but very few can keep walking steadily for years. Over time, that steady walker will cover more ground than the sprinter who burns out after the first burst. The truth is, the rewards of consistency often come long after you've stopped thinking about them. One day you'll wake up and realize the habit you once struggled to start has become part of who you are, and that identity will carry you further than any burst of motivation ever could. The Stoics valued constancy, what they called stability of the soul. Epictetus urged his students to practice daily, as an athlete trains not for a single contest, but for life itself. To the Stoic, consistency is the path to virtue. It's not enough to act with courage or temperance once. These must be practiced daily until they become the natural expression of your character. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This is a call to consistent action, not occasional inspiration. By showing up for our values every day in small acts and steady habits, we live in harmony with reason and nature. Consistency, then, is not just a method for achieving goals. It's the way we embody the virtues we claim to hold. There's a moment in every difficult season when you catch yourself thinking, why is this happening to me? It's a natural question. Challenges disrupt our comfort, break our routines, and force us into uncertainty. But what if these moments, unwanted, inconvenient, even painful, were not roadblocks, but catalysts? What if they weren't interruptions to your life, but the very engine that drives your growth? A catalyst in chemistry is something that accelerates a reaction without being consumed in the process. In life, challenges can do the same. They speed up your development, push you towards skills you didn't know you needed, and force you to shed habits or beliefs that were holding you back. We're wired to seek safety and avoid pain. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes sense. Our ancestors didn't survive by running toward danger, but in the modern world, much of our discomfort isn't life-threatening. It's the discomfort of stretching beyond what we know, the uncertainty of starting a new career, the vulnerability of speaking our truth, the risk of trying something where failure is possible. The problem is that avoiding all discomfort doesn't protect us, it weakens us. Muscles atrophy without resistance. Skills stagnate without challenge. When we shield ourselves from difficulty, we also shield ourselves from growth. Look back on your life and notice how many turning points were born out of difficulty. Perhaps a job loss pushed you to finally pursue a passion. Maybe a breakup taught you self-reliance. A health scare might have made you change your habits entirely. These aren't just happy accidents. Challenges strip away the unnecessary. They reveal what you actually value, what you're capable of, and where you've been holding yourself back. In many cases, they give you a kind of urgency and clarity that comfort never could. The diamond metaphor is overused, but only because it's true. Without immense pressure, carbon remains carbon. It's the same with us. Without pressure, we remain in our default state. Challenges are the pressure that forces us to refine our skills, strengthen our character, and develop resilience. The key is to shift from seeing challenges as something that's in the way to seeing them as part of the way. This mental shift doesn't make difficulties pleasant, but it does make them purposeful. Reframe the story. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this here to teach me?" This simple question shifts you from victimhood to agency. Focus on controllables. You can't control the challenge itself, but you can control your response, your effort, your attitude, and your willingness to adapt. Break it down. Large problems are overwhelming. Divide them into smaller, solvable parts. Each small win builds momentum and confidence. Seek the skill. Every challenge demands something new from you. Identify what that skill is. Patience, negotiation, endurance, and treat the challenge as training. Confidence doesn't come from imagining success. It comes from surviving difficulty and realizing you're still standing. Every time you navigate a challenge, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. That proof is the foundation of genuine confidence, the kind that doesn't crumble under pressure. Without challenge, confidence is theoretical. It's based on what you think you can do, not what you know you can do. Adversity is the testing ground where theory becomes fact. It's worth acknowledging that not every challenge feels like a gift in the moment. Some knock us flat, some leave scars, and some, frankly, are just brutal. The goal is not to romanticize hardship, but to recognize that our response to it is the only part we control. There will be times when the lesson is simply to endure. That's okay. Survival is also a form of victory, and often the growth from these moments is visible only in hindsight, when you realize how much stronger you've become because you refuse to quit. Real-life examples. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter found a home. Those rejections sharpened her determination and her manuscript. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He used to study, reflect, and develop the political vision that would later guide South Africa's transition. Bethany Hamilton, a surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack at 13, returned to competition and used her story to inspire millions. In each case, the challenge wasn't just an obstacle, it was the environment in which strength was forged. The irony of challenges is that the more you resist them, the harder they become. Fighting reality consumes energy you could use to adapt. Acceptance doesn't mean liking the situation, it means acknowledging it as real and choosing to engage with it constructively. Once you accept that difficulty is part of the journey, you stop waiting for smooth sailing to start living fully. You begin to see challenges not as detours, but as necessary parts of the map. The Stoics didn't just tolerate challenges, they welcomed them as training grounds for the soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the essence of turning obstacles into opportunities. For Epictetus, challenges were the forge in which virtue was shaped. Without them, we would never develop courage, patience, or wisdom. He compared life to a wrestling match where every opponent is a chance to refine your skill. From a Stoic perspective, hardship is not an interruption to your life's purpose. It is the arena in which you live it. Each difficulty is a chance to practice living in harmony with reason, to act with integrity under pressure, and to prove to yourself that your principles are more durable than your circumstances. Fear is a master illusionist. It magnifies risks, distorts possibilities, and keeps your mind rehearsing worst-case scenarios on a loop. Left unchecked, it becomes a fog so thick that you can't see the next step, only the shadows of what might go wrong. And yet the quickest way to cut through that fog is not more thinking, not more planning, and certainly not more waiting. It's action. Fear thrives in stillness. When you're standing still, you give it all the space it needs to grow. Your mind becomes a stage for fear to perform on, and it will use every trick in the book. You're not ready. What if you fail? People will laugh at you. The longer you entertain these voices without moving, the louder they get. At its core, fear is your body's ancient alarm system designed to keep you alive. But in the modern world, most of what triggers fear isn't a tiger lurking in the bushes. It's a difficult conversation, a career change, a public presentation. Our physiology reacts as though we're in mortal danger, even when the stakes are far less deadly. The problem isn't that fear exists, it's that we misinterpret it. We see fear as a signal to stop, when often it's a sign that we're about to step into something important. Action interrupts fear's feedback loop. When you take a step, no matter how small, you shift your attention from imagined outcomes to real, tangible tasks. Your brain switches from what if to what's next. The energy you've been feeding, fear, gets redirected into movement. Think about the last time you dreaded starting something, a phone call, a workout, a piece of writing. The anticipation was probably worse than the act itself. That's because action replaces uncertainty with experience, and experience is fear's worst enemy. One of the most effective ways to break fear's hold is to scale down the action you're avoiding into something so small it feels almost silly. Afraid of writing the book? Just open the document and type a single sentence. Afraid of networking? Send one short message to a colleague. The point isn't to finish the whole thing, it's to prove to yourself that you can start. Starting builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Once you're in motion, fear has less room to operate. Overthinking masquerades as preparation, but more often, it's procrastination in disguise. You can research, plan, and analyze endlessly and still feel paralyzed. That's because fear doesn't dissolve in the mind, it dissolves in motion. It's like standing at the edge of a cold pool. You can debate how cold it will be, imagine how it will feel, or even watch others swim, but none of that changes your relationship to the water. Only jumping in will. If you want to train yourself to act in spite of fear, you need to practice acting quickly when you feel resistance. This doesn't mean being reckless, it means recognizing the difference between healthy caution and paralyzing hesitation. Here's a simple framework. Notice the fear. Acknowledge it without judgment. Name the smallest step. Identify one action you can take in the next 5 minutes. Do it immediately. Don't give fear time to negotiate. Over time, you'll build a track record of acting despite discomfort, and your tolerance for uncertainty will grow. In genuinely high-pressure situations, emergencies, negotiations, life changes, action becomes even more critical. Here, hesitation not only feeds fear, it can also compound the problem. Experienced first responders know this well. They don't wait to feel unafraid before moving. They move, and in moving, they find their composure. This principle applies outside emergencies too. If you've ever delivered a speech, you know that the first few sentences are the hardest. Once you're speaking, the fear recedes. Inaction prolongs the dread. Action shortens it. Some fears won't vanish entirely, even with action. That's okay. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to function alongside it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's movement in spite of it. Each time you take action, you reinforce the belief that fear doesn't control you. Real-life examples: Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, was terrified of rejection, but set herself a goal of hearing no every day. The habit of taking small intentional actions despite fear made her resilient enough to build a billion-dollar company. Will Smith famously went skydiving to prove to himself that fear loses its grip once you leap. He described the moment after jumping as pure bliss, realizing that the fear had been entirely in the waiting. Everyday people who face their fears, whether it's learning to swim at 60, speaking up in meetings, or starting a side business, find that the scariest part is always the pause before action. Fears disguise as logic. Be careful. Fear often dresses itself up as reason. It will tell you you're waiting for the right time, or that you need more information. While preparation is important, it's worth asking, am I gathering what I need, or am I delaying what I fear? The more you ask that question, the better you get at calling fear's bluff. The Stoics understood that fear is often a projection of the mind, not a reflection of reality. Epictetus taught that we suffer more in imagination than in the events themselves. His solution, action in alignment with reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. If it is unendurable, it will end." This is a reminder that acting within your control, no matter how small the step, keeps you grounded in the present, rather than trapped in fearful speculation. For a Stoic, courage is not an abstract virtue, it is practiced in motion. Fear is an invitation to act, to test your principles against reality, and to prove that your choices, not your anxieties, define your life. In this way, every act in the face of fear is both a step forward and an act of philosophy. Most people treat failure like a wall. You run into it and it stops you cold. You take it as a sign that you weren't ready, weren't talented enough, or simply weren't meant for this path. But failure, seen clearly, is not a wall, it's a doorway. The problem is that the door only opens if you're willing to push against it, learn from it, and walk through. The truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is the process by which success is built. Every skill you have today, walking, reading, speaking, was learned through a long series of mistakes. Somewhere along the way, though, we stopped seeing mistakes as natural and started seeing them as proof that we don't belong. Our fear of failure is often inherited. In school, mistakes were marked in red ink. In work, failures were documented in performance reviews. In relationships, failures became baggage. We learn early that getting it wrong is something to hide, and so we avoid the very experiences that would teach us the most. This conditioning makes us risk-averse. We aim for what's safe, predictable, and achievable, not because that's where our dreams are, but because that's where our ego is least threatened. And in doing so, we rob ourselves of the depth and resilience that only failure can teach. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to treat failure as feedback, not a verdict. A failed presentation isn't evidence you're a bad communicator. It's data about what didn't land, what wasn't clear, or what preparation you lacked. When you see failure as data, you detach your identity from the outcome. You stop saying "I failed" and start saying "this didn't work." That subtle shift creates space for curiosity instead of shame. And curiosity is what keeps you trying until you get it right. Every great innovator embraces iteration. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He understood that each failure wasn't a defeat, it was a refinement. This mindset applies to everything from launching a business to building a relationship. You try, you learn, you adjust. Failure becomes less of a dramatic event and more of a daily practice. One reason failure feels so crushing is that we tie too much to a single attempt. We bet our entire self-worth on one job interview, one pitch, one relationship. When it falls apart, we feel like we've lost everything. The antidote is to fail small and often. Make low-stakes experiments a habit. Want to improve your speaking skills. Test new approaches in small meetings before your big presentation. Trying a business idea. Run a small pilot instead of going all in immediately. By shrinking the stakes, you make failure survivable and therefore learnable. Paradoxically, Confidence often grows fastest when you're failing. Each time you recover from a setback, you prove to yourself that you can survive it. This proof builds a deeper kind of self-assurance, one that doesn't depend on always winning, but on knowing you can handle losing. People who avoid failure often have fragile confidence. It looks strong on the surface, but it crumbles under pressure because it's never been tested. Resilient confidence is forged in the fire of failed attempts and tempered by the knowledge that you can keep going. There will be times when failure seems to shut a door permanently. A career path that ends a relationship that can't be repaired, a goal that's no longer possible. These moments hurt. The key is to separate the loss from your identity. Losing a dream doesn't mean you are lost. In fact, final failures often create space for new directions you would never have considered. Many people discover their true calling only after the collapse of what they thought was their path. Practical ways to redefine failure. Debrief without blame. After a failure, write down 3 things you learned and 3 ways you try differently next time. Share your failures. Talking openly about what went wrong normalizes the experience and helps you gain perspective. Celebrate the attempt. Reward yourself for taking the risk, not just for succeeding. Set learning goals. Instead of only aiming for outcomes, set goals around what you want to discover through the process. Real-life examples. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. He went bankrupt before building his empire. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television early in her career. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He later said, "I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." In each case, failure wasn't the end, it was the training ground. The Stoics saw failure not as a personal flaw, but as an event, something neutral, until we attach meaning to it. Epictetus taught that what harms us is not the thing itself, but our judgment of it. If we judge failure as shameful, we suffer unnecessarily. If we judge it as instructive, we gain from it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that setbacks are part of the natural order. The cucumber is bitter, then throw it away. There are brambles in the path, then go round them. That's all you need to know. To a Stoic, failure is simply one of life's brambles. It may scratch, but it also directs you toward a better path. In this way, failure becomes not a scar on your record, but a step in your training, a proof that you're engaged fully in the work of living. Some people look at a skill they don't have yet and think, "I'm just not that kind of person." Others look at the same skill and think, "I can learn this if I put in the work." This difference in thinking isn't just a quirk of personality, it's a fundamental shift in how we see ourselves and our potential. Psychologist Carol Dweck calls it the mindset divide. Fixed mindset versus growth mindset. A fixed mindset assumes that abilities, intelligence, and talent are static traits. You either have them or you don't. A growth mindset, on the other hand, sees them as qualities that can be developed through effort, good strategies, and help from others. If you believe your abilities are fixed, you tend to avoid challenges that might expose your weaknesses. You stick to what you're already good at, not because it's fulfilling, but because it's safe. Criticism feels personal, feedback feels like an attack, and the success of others feels like a threat to your own worth. Over time, this mindset builds a kind of invisible cage. You never push against the limits because you believe the limits are the walls of who you are, and so they remain. In a growth mindset, challenges are not threats, they're opportunities. Feedback is not proof of inadequacy, it's a roadmap. The success of others isn't a threat, it's inspiration and evidence that new levels are possible. People with a growth mindset understand that talent may open a door, but effort is what keeps you inside. They know that setbacks are part of the process, not the end of it. Mindsets often start with the messages we receive as children. Praise for being smart or talented can unintentionally push us toward a fixed mindset because it ties our value to innate traits. Praise for effort, persistence, and strategy encourages a growth mindset by reinforcing that improvement comes from what we do, not just who we are. But mindsets aren't set in stone. You can shift from fixed to growth at any point by changing how you interpret challenges, mistakes, and effort. Talent is an advantage, but it's not a guarantee. The world is full of talented people who never reached their potential because they avoided the grind of practice, the humility of feedback, or the patience required to master their craft. Effort multiplies talent. It's the engine that turns raw ability into refined skill. And unlike talent, effort is always within your control. The way you talk to yourself shapes your mindset. One powerful way to build a growth mindset is to deliberately seek out situations where you are a beginner. Being bad at something on purpose might feel uncomfortable, but it trains you to value learning over looking competent. You stop avoiding the learning curve and start climbing it willingly. This practice also makes you more resilient in the face of setbacks. If you're used to seeing yourself as a work in progress, failure becomes a step, not a verdict. How to shift toward growth, reframe challenges, see them as puzzles to solve, not tests of worth. Value the process. Focus on the habits and systems that move you forward. Normalize mistakes. Treat them as essential checkpoints on the road to mastery. Surround yourself with learners. People who are excited about growth will challenge you to stay in that space. A growth mindset isn't just about achieving more. It's about enjoying the process more. When you believe you can improve, the journey becomes exciting rather than exhausting. You stop measuring yourself against a fixed image of success and start measuring against your own progress. Over years, this creates not only higher achievement, but also greater resilience. You'll take more risks, recover faster from failure, and adapt better to change. Real-life examples: Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, but instead of accepting that as proof he wasn't good enough, he used it as motivation to practice harder than ever. Marie Curie faced immense barriers as a woman in science. Yet her relentless pursuit of knowledge earned her 2 Nobel Prizes in different fields. Everyday learners who take up new languages, instruments, or skills later in life prove that growth is not bound by age, it's bound by willingness. Stoic philosophy aligns naturally with a growth mindset. The Stoics believe that virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, temperance is cultivated through daily practice, not granted at birth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to be tolerant with others and strict with yourself, a call to continuous self-improvement. Epictetus, born a slave, became a respected philosopher, not because of innate privilege, but through relentless study and disciplined action. His life is a testament to the idea that circumstances don't fix your potential, your choices do. For the Stoic, the goal is not to be perfect, but to be better today than yesterday and better tomorrow than today. This is the essence of a growth mindset: progress, as a way of life grounded in the belief that who you are is shaped by what you repeatedly do. One of the fastest ways to drain your energy is to fight battles you can't win, not because you lack skill or determination, but because the outcome was never within your control. We all do it, replaying conversations we can't change, obsessing over other people's opinions, worrying about events far outside our reach. It feels like we're doing something useful, but in reality we're burning energy in a closed loop. The truth is simple, though not always easy to accept. Life divides into 2 categories: things you can control and things you can't. The key to peace and effectiveness lies in knowing the difference, then putting your focus where it matters. Control feels safe. If we can direct every variable, nothing can surprise us. But the world doesn't work that way. Trying to control everything is like trying to hold water in your hands. You'll only exhaust yourself as it slips away. We cling to control because uncertainty is uncomfortable. The mind would rather believe it can predict and manage every outcome than face the truth that some things are simply beyond its reach. When you pour energy into the uncontrollable, frustration is inevitable. If you've ever spent days stewing over someone else's decision, or weeks worrying about an event you couldn't influence, you know, the cycle anxiety rises, patience drops, and you lose the bandwidth to focus on what's actually within your power. This isn't just emotionally draining, it's corrosive to your productivity and relationships. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more you neglect the areas where your actions could have real impact. The first step toward reclaiming your focus is identifying what truly belongs in your sphere of control. Ask yourself, can I directly influence this through my actions? Is this a decision that belongs to me or to someone else? If I stop thinking about it, will anything in reality change? If the answer to that last question is no, it's outside your control. Your task is not to fix it, but to adjust your response to it. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means freeing your hands to work on what you can actually change. Imagine you're carrying two buckets, one for controllable things, one for uncontrollable. If both are full, you can't move. But if you set down the bucket of uncontrollable things, suddenly you have the strength and freedom to carry the other forward. This is why letting go often feels like a weight being lifted. It's not that life got easier, it's that you stop dragging the parts you couldn't change. What's in your control? In almost any situation you control, your actions, what you do or don't do, your words, what you choose to say or withhold, your effort, how much energy you bring to a task, your focus, where you direct your attention, your attitude, how you choose to interpret events. That's a lot of power, more than most people realize. But it's only useful if you stop wasting it on what's outside your reach. What's outside your control? Equally important, recognize what's not yours to manage. Other people's opinions, choices and feelings, random events and natural outcomes. How long something takes once you've done your part. Trying to control these is like trying to push the ocean back with your hands. Once you accept the limits of your control, you stop scattering your energy across an infinite field and start focusing it like a laser. You make better decisions because you're no longer clouded by frustration over the uncontrollable. You also gain a kind of inner steadiness. Your mood is no longer at the mercy of every external change. This isn't about detachment in the cold, uncaring sense. It's about engagement with the world on terms that are sustainable. You can still care deeply about outcomes without being consumed by them. Morning focus check. Before you start your day, write down 3 things you can influence today. Keep the list short and actionable. Interruption pause. When you feel frustration rising, ask, can I control this? If not, redirect to something you can. End of day review. Acknowledge what you did within your control and consciously release what's unresolved. Real-life examples. A job applicant can't control whether the company hires them, but they can control how well they prepare for the interview. A parent can't control every decision their adult child makes, but they can control the support and guidance they offer. An athlete can't control the referee's calls, but they can control their training effort and composure. In each case, shifting focus to controllables improves both performance and peace of mind. This principle is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus taught the dichotomy of control, the idea that some things are up to us and others are not. Wisdom lies in devoting ourselves fully to the first and releasing the second without bitterness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." For the Stoic, inner freedom comes from aligning your efforts with what's truly yours to direct. By practicing this, you protect your peace from being hijacked by every change in fortune, every careless comment, every unforeseen event. You become steady, not because life is easy, but because you refuse to waste your strength on battles that were never yours to fight. Some people drift through life as if they already know enough. They have their routines, their opinions, their way of doing things, and they rarely deviate. Others seem endlessly alive, always asking questions, trying new things, peeking around the next corner. The difference isn't intelligence or luck. It's curiosity. Curiosity is more than a fleeting interest. It's the fuel that keeps the mind alert, the heart open, and the spirit engaged. Without it, life becomes mechanical. You wake, work, eat, sleep, repeat. With it, every day holds the potential for discovery. Curiosity drives learning. When you're curious, you absorb information more deeply because you're emotionally invested in the answer. You don't just memorize facts, you connect them, explore them, and apply them in creative ways. It also strengthens relationships. Asking genuine questions shows interest in others' experiences and perspectives. Curiosity invites connection, turning small talk into real conversation and strangers into allies. Most importantly, curiosity makes life richer. It transforms routine experiences into opportunities for wonder. The park you walk through daily becomes a laboratory of colours, patterns, and sounds when you're curious enough to look closely. As children, curiosity is our default setting. We touch everything, taste everything, and ask why endlessly. Over time, this instinct can be dulled by schooling that rewards the right answers over exploration, by workplaces that value efficiency over experimentation, and by social norms that treat too many questions as bothersome. Fear also kills curiosity. We avoid asking questions when we're afraid of looking foolish, and we avoid trying new things when we fear failure. Slowly, without realizing it, we trade discovery for certainty. Without curiosity, our mental world shrinks. We stick to the same ideas, habits, and people, which limits our growth. We become less adaptable because adaptability requires learning, and learning begins with wanting to know. In a rapidly changing world, curiosity isn't a luxury, it's a survival skill. Those who can ask new questions and explore new paths are the ones who adapt, while those who cling only to what they know risk becoming obsolete. Curiosity can be reawakened even if it's been dormant for years. Start small. Ask one more question. When someone shares something, follow up with genuine interest instead of moving on. Explore unfamiliar topics. Pick a subject you know little about and read a short article or watch a documentary. Break routines. Visit a new place. Take a different route or try a new activity just to see what happens. Adopt the beginner's mind. Approach experiences as if you know nothing about them, even if you're familiar. Curiosity is not passive, it requires pursuit. This means deliberately stepping into situations that offer no guaranteed outcome. It means trying a recipe without knowing if it will work, striking up a conversation without knowing where it will lead, signing up for a class you might not need. These small risks compound over time, leading to discoveries you couldn't have predicted, a new skill that turns into a career shift, a chance meeting that becomes a deep friendship, an interest that blossoms into a passion project. True curiosity requires humility. You have to admit you don't know, and that can feel vulnerable. But this humility is a strength. It's what keeps you teachable. People who cling to the image of already knowing often stop growing, while those willing to say, "Tell me more," keep expanding their horizons. Curiosity also requires courage, because it often leads you into the unknown. You might uncover answers you don't like, or truths that challenge your beliefs. But this discomfort is the gateway to deeper understanding. Curiosity without direction can scatter your energy. Discipline channels it. The most impactful curiosity is paired with focused effort, choosing a question, digging into it deeply, and following it to meaningful conclusions. This combination turns curiosity from idle wonder into tangible progress. For example, someone casually interested in photography might dabble for years without much growth, but someone who turns that curiosity into a structured practice, learning techniques, studying composition, experimenting regularly, can develop real skill and creative vision. Real-life examples. Leonardo da Vinci kept dozens of notebooks filled with questions, sketches, and observations on everything from anatomy to engineering. His genius was fueled not by having all the answers, but by relentless curiosity. Jane Goodall entered the jungle to study chimpanzees without formal scientific training in primatology. Her curiosity led to groundbreaking discoveries that reshaped our understanding of animal behavior. Everyday acts like a retiree learning to play piano or a teenager teaching themselves coding show that curiosity isn't tied to age or circumstance, but to mindset. The Stoics valued curiosity as a tool for living in accordance with nature. For them, curiosity was not idle wandering, it was an active pursuit of truth and understanding. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This reflects a deeply curious mindset. Life itself is the subject of study, and every moment offers new lessons. Marcus Aurelius approached his own thoughts, with curiosity examining his reactions and beliefs daily. This self-inquiry was a form of philosophical curiosity aimed at uncovering what is within his control and what aligns with virtue. For the Stoic, curiosity is a disciplined openness, a willingness to explore ideas, experiences, and even discomfort in service of wisdom. It fuels the quest for a good life, not by seeking endless novelty, but by seeking deeper understanding of the world and oneself. It's easy to live everywhere except here. We replay conversations from yesterday, rewriting what we should have said. We fast forward into tomorrow, worrying about events that haven't happened. Meanwhile, the present moment where life is actually unfolding slips by unnoticed. The irony is that this present is the only place where we can act, decide, or change anything. The past is fixed. The future is uncertain, but the present is alive. When we learn to anchor ourselves in it, we gain both clarity and calm. Think of the present as a single point on a line stretching infinitely in both directions. The past stretches behind you, the future extends ahead, but your feet are planted here. Every choice you make happens here. Every habit is reinforced here. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, is felt here. When you're present, you respond to life as it is not as you fear it will be or wish it had been. This presence sharpens your decisions, deepens your relationships, and makes your experiences richer. Spending too much time in the past often leads to regret or nostalgia that keeps you from engaging with today. Living too much in the future breeds anxiety as you constantly brace for possibilities that may never come. Neither state changes reality. They just rob you of the only time you can influence it. It's like holding a ticket to a show, but spending the whole performance thinking about yesterday's performance or tomorrow's. You miss the one you're actually attending. One of the biggest obstacles to presence is our obsession with multitasking. We check our phones while talking to friends, plan the next task while working on the current one, and skim messages while pretending to listen in meetings. This constant splitting of attention reduces both the quality of our work and the quality of our connections. Being present is about giving the full weight of your attention to the moment you're in, whether it's writing an email, cooking a meal, or listening to someone speak. Presence is a practice. Here are a few ways to anchor yourself. Pause before reacting. When something triggers you, take a breath before responding. This short pause brings you back to the moment instead of letting past patterns take over. Use sensory cues. Notice one thing you can see, hear, and feel right now. This simple grounding exercise pulls you out of mental time travel. Single task. Choose one task and give it your full attention, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Check your posture. Physical awareness often leads to mental awareness. Sit or stand tall. Feel your feet on the ground and notice your breathing. When you're fully present with someone, you send an unspoken message. You matter right now. People can feel the difference between your partial attention and your full presence. Conversations deepen. Trust grows. Disagreements de-escalate because the other person senses they're truly being heard. In a distracted world, presence is a rare gift. Offering it to others and to yourself is a way of standing out without saying a word. It's tempting to escape painful experiences by mentally leaving the present, thinking about a better past or imagining a future without the discomfort. But paradoxically, staying with the moment often makes it more bearable. When you focus only on the sensation, the breath, the next step, you stop adding extra layers of fear or resentment. The moment may still be hard, but it's no longer multiplied by your mental resistance to it. Mindfulness meditation is one of the most effective ways to strengthen presence. Sitting quietly and observing your breath trains you to notice when your mind wanders and gently return it to the present. This skill carries over into daily life, making it easier to catch yourself drifting and return to now. But you don't have to meditate formally to practice presence. Any activity, washing dishes, walking, even drinking water, can be turned into a mindfulness exercise if you do it with full awareness. Real-life examples. A chef focuses entirely on the rhythm of chopping vegetables, the aroma rising from the pan, the sizzle as ingredients meet heat. A teacher listens closely to a student's question without planning the answer in advance, ensuring the response meets the need of the moment. A runner pays attention to each footfall, each breath, instead of obsessing over the finish line. In all cases, the quality of the experience and often the outcome improves simply because the mind is anchored in the present. The Stoics saw the present moment as the only true possession. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." For him, this wasn't just a poetic idea, it was a practical strategy for living. Epictetus taught that we should focus our energy where it can have effect. And since the present is the only place where action is possible, it's also the only place where our control is real. Worrying about the past or future, in his view, is a form of abandoning your post. For the Stoic, presence is not passive. It's active engagement with what is in front of you, guided by reason and virtue. In this way, the present moment is both a refuge from unnecessary suffering and the arena where your character is built one choice at a time. Most people think of life as a series of destinations: graduate from school, get the job, find the partner, buy the home, retire. The journey in this view is simply the space between milestones. You move from one to the next, checking boxes, until the list is complete. But if you look closely, you'll see that the list never truly ends. Every goal reached opens the door to a new one. Every milestone is followed by another stretch of road. Life is less like a staircase leading to a final floor, and more like a path winding endlessly through varied terrain. It's human nature to keep reaching. Achievements bring satisfaction, but they also spark curiosity. What's next? How far can I go? This isn't greed or restlessness, it's growth. Stagnation feels unnatural because we are designed to adapt, learn and expand, even in areas where we feel complete life changes. Careers evolve, relationships shift, health fluctuates. The journey keeps unfolding whether we're ready or not. When you believe happiness lies in a future arrival, you risk postponing your life. You tell yourself you'll relax when you get the promotion, travel when you retire, be content when you find the perfect relationship. But when those moments come, the satisfaction is often fleeting and the next target appears. This doesn't mean goals are pointless. It means they can't be your only compass. The richer perspective is to see each goal as a chapter, not the whole story. When you accept that the journey is endless, you stop rushing through it. You start noticing the details, the conversations, the small victories, the lessons hidden in setbacks. You measure your life less by how many boxes you've ticked and more by the quality of the days between them. This doesn't mean giving up ambition. It means pairing ambition with presence. You still aim for new peaks, but you also savor the climb, aware that the view is changing all the time. The growth cycle. Every journey follows a cycle. Curiosity, a desire or challenge appears. Commitment, you decide to pursue it. Effort, you invest time, energy, and learning. Achievement, you reach a milestone. Reflection, you look back, assess, and decide what's next. Recognizing this cycle helps you enjoy each phase without clinging to it. You know it will come around again, just in a different form. An endless journey will have detours. There will be seasons of loss, confusion, or rest. These pauses are not failures, they're recalibrations. Sometimes the road you thought you'd take no longer exists, and you have to find a new one. If you see the journey as infinite, detours lose their sting. They're simply part of the map you couldn't see from the start. In an endless journey, burnout becomes a real risk if you never pause to rest. Sustainable progress requires cycles of effort and renewal. Athletes call this recovery. Creatives call it incubation. In both cases, the pause is what makes the next stretch possible. This is why rituals matter, moments that remind you to breathe, celebrate and recharge before the next climb. When the journey is endless, comparing your pace to others becomes meaningless. Some are ahead in one area, behind in another. The only true measure is whether you're moving in a direction that matters to you at a pace you can sustain. Comparison shrinks your perspective to a narrow race. The endless journey widens it to a lifetime of exploration. Real-life examples. David Attenborough, well into his 90s, continues to travel, learn and share the wonders of the natural world, not because he needs to, but because curiosity fuels him. Toni Morrison published novels into her later years, proving that creative journeys don't have an expiration date. Everyday people who learn new skills, change careers, or rebuild their lives at any age. Embody the truth, the path never ends unless you choose to stop walking. Living with an endless horizon. When you live with the understanding that there is no final arrival, you grant yourself freedom. You can enjoy the small stages without rushing, adapt to changes without despair, and keep learning without fear of running out of time. The endless journey is not about doing more. It's about living fully in the stretch you're in, knowing there will always be another around the bend. The Stoics saw life as a continuous practice. There was no point at which one became finished in virtue or wisdom, only the daily work of aligning thought and action with reason. Epictetus told his students to see each day as part of training for life, not a final exam. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, wrote to himself as a student, reminding himself that there was still more to learn, more to refine. The Stoics' aim was progress, not perfection, a lifelong ascent without a summit. In this light, the endless journey is not exhausting, but liberating. There is no final test to pass, only the opportunity every day to walk further in the direction of courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance. The journey's length is irrelevant. Its quality is everything. When we began this journey together in part 1, we talked about balance motion and the simple truth that to keep your life steady, you must keep moving. Over the course of 12 parts, we've explored the building blocks of a resilient, meaningful life. Embracing challenges, dismantling fear, redefining failure, cultivating a growth mindset, focusing on what you can control, filling yourself with curiosity, grounding yourself in the present, and understanding that there is no final finish line. This series has not been about chasing perfection. It's been about developing the tools and perspectives that allow you to keep going through success, through setbacks, through change. If there's one thread running through every part, it's this. Your strength doesn't come from avoiding difficulty, but from meeting it with intention. We've seen that small progress made consistently outperforms occasional bursts of effort. A little each day compounds into something remarkable over time. Whether it's building a skill, deepening a relationship, or transforming your health, the magic lies in persistence. The daily vote you cast for the person you want to become is far more powerful than any single grand gesture. You've learnt that fear is rarely a stop sign. More often, it's a compass pointing towards something important. Taking action, even imperfectly, is the fastest way to dismantle fear's hold. Challenges will always be part of the landscape, but each one carries the potential to accelerate your growth. If you meet it with openness rather than resistance,